Hello, everyone. Today I'm with Talha. Talha is an Atlas Core Fellow, Class 29, and today he's going to host a very, very interesting webinar about data science for social good. Talha, I know that I won't do justice to your introduction, so I'll let you do it.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Talha, and I am a Class 29 fellow from Pakistan. Currently serving at Points of Light, and I'm going back in a month. So yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm ready to jump to the presentation. So should I start sharing the screen on?
Go for it, Talha. Yes.
All right. There we go. So using data science for social good, all of the fellows are social leaders, and data science is nowadays a buzzword, which you have heard. But today I'm going to tell you the whole process that surrounds the data science part, and how you can use, which tools you can learn, and from where you can learn it. And at the last, we have a very exciting project that all of us can do together in order to learn these tools. Just to start, oh, sorry, I was on the wrong screen. There we go. Just to start off with, so I did my certifications here during my fellowship from General Assembly. It's an institute. It will cost you around $4,000. So you have to figure it out how you are going to save it from your stipend. You can ask me, and I can also tell you how you can save $4,000 from your stipend. And because of that, I got a job as a data analyst at Data Sharma. And today, I'm going to be using the same example that I'm working on to basically follow the process. In general term, when you hear data science, so basically this diagram explains what data science is. It's a combination of different fields. There is a very rare chance that you can be expert in all of them, but more or less, like, you can be a research professional who is researching and then developing hypotheses and stuff. We're going to see all of that in a minute. You can be a programmer who is applying queries, writing code to actually find those hidden kind of information in the data. You can be a math and statistics person who are basically responsible for choosing the right algorithm to follow, and basically combining all of this. Data science is that field. This is the process which actually defines the whole starting and ending picture of a data analytics project. So we are going to do this process in details today. So just to start off with, the example that we're going to use is Stride 2.0 program. Stride is basically currently, right now, as we speak, it's getting implemented in East Africa by an organization called TechnoSurf in partnership with MasterCard Foundation. I'm working on this data set at Data Sharma, which is a consulting firm for data for data projects for nonprofit organizations. So basically, the program is about youth 18 to 30 years old, to basically make them economically independent. And they have basically a training module which they go to African countries, and they recruit people, and then they provide them with the training, and then afterwards they see if that works or not. Until now, they have around 15,000 plus people graduated from this program. So the first thing when we started working on when they defined us that this is the program that we're going to do, what we did was that we first started off with the first step, which is developing a hypothesis. By that, I mean is that basically, when you're starting a program, you say, like, okay, we are going to work on youth development, and with this course that we have designed, with this training that we have designed, we are hoping that more people will find jobs, or at least start their own businesses in future. Then what we need to do is, if there are people who already have a job, we also need to see that if they have grown their revenue, monthly revenue or annual revenue, and we are going to keep tracking this data for 5 years. So I was not basically included in this stage of the data of this whole data ecosystem. So these are some of the decisions that are usually made by the higher management, who defines the program, who are basically the people who have specific goals in mind, and they know what they're looking for in this program, or what the end goals are. So they're the people who develop a hypothesis, or who basically tell that this is the outcome of this program, that we want to find out if this is working or not. So in order to do that, the easiest approach is basically to design a survey, or or any other means to gather information. So we decided to let's design a survey, which we will distribute before starting a program. As an Atlas Core Fellow, you also get a survey when you start your fellowship during your orientation, and you get the same survey when you're ending it. So this is Atlas Core do the same thing. They basically see where the fellows are growing, in which sector, and these sort of things. So they are using the same approach. They do that survey before starting the program, and then they do that survey after, like each year, for 5 years, just to track that how people are growing, or if they're growing or not. Usually the countries that they work in East Africa is not highly you can say like tech oriented. So you need to see which tools you can use. It can be either on a paper, or you can use Google Forms, SurveyMonkey. These are just two famous names, but you can use any other, whichever you like. So for example, if we have made a hypothesis that, hey, this program, we're going to make 15,000 people increase their monthly income up to 50%. So this is just an example of one hypothesis, or one goal that we had in mind when we actually started doing this program. So these are kind of the questions that you define. Basically, these are not the end goals, but these are the questions that you want answer of when you go through a certain program. Then the next stage comes in, is the preparation of the data. So what happens here is that you take that data. If you are using SurveyMonkey, it's very easy for you to kind of extract that information into Excel. If you have done that survey on paper, it's going to be like manual entry of the data. There are some automated processes, but they're very high level. But so basically, the goal for preparing the data is to have that data in a standardized form. By that, I mean this. Basically, before going more into that, just remember that this step is the most important step in the whole flow of your data science journey. And data scientists basically spend most of their time in this step. And by standardizing, I mean removing errors, ambiguous data, and see if there are any mistakes in the data. Because if you did something wrong at this stage, all the other steps in moving forward are going to be are not going to make any sense, or are not going to give the results that at least you expect. The example that we are using about the Stride program, so we had some standards defined. By that I mean, like, if the salary, it has to be in a number field. I don't know how familiar you are with the Excel, but it's a very basic feature of Excel that you can actually change the data type of a field. So it either it's a number, it's a date, it's a currency, or so we define some of these things, like the salary has to be in number format. It has to be 5,000. If 5,000 is a number, it should not be 5K. the most important thing is the date. If again, it depends on the data, how you want it to be. So you have to identify the most important fields in your data. For us, date was also important, so we need a standardized date format so that we can actually perform analytics on that, which we're going to see as we move forward. So we define a standard version of the date. Then same here is that another important thing is that there can be some blank fields. It's actually, again, if you have designed a poor survey, or even if you have designed a perfect survey, there is always room for error. So do not take this step lightly. There are some organizations that actually define the blank fields as I mean, they have their own standards. In data world, it's a very famous word that they say that zero is better than nothing, which actually means that if there's an empty field, either replace it with zero or a phrase. I mean, like, this information is called as metadata, and metadata is basically a dictionary about the data to help understand what's in that data, or what standard forms that you have used. If you have used United Nations data set, if you have ever seen it, they also have a dictionary with it, which helps you understand what each fields mean in details. So this is kind of the planning phase where you import your data into at one place. You clean the data. By cleaning, remove all the blank fields, errors, make it standard based on what you or your team has decided. Moving forward, this is where the real fun begins, because preparation sometimes is boring, and you actually get frustrated when you're dealing with a data set which has a million rows. So analyzing is when you start seeing your data into visuals. Usually how I do it is that I start by understanding data by making small charts. By that, I mean, I will make a chart which will say, okay, so 57% females were engaged in this program, and this percentage of male were engaged in this program. These were the age factors. These were the areas. These were the countries in East Africa. These are the sectors that they started businesses in. So, very, very kind of easy to make charts, which actually gives you a good understanding towards the big goal that you are going for. So basically, at this step, you actually need to learn some tools. Excel also provides some basic chart functionalities, but nowadays Tableau and Power BI are in the market, and they are very powerful tools to create dashboards, which are a very user-friendly way to display the information. Okay. All right. So I mean, like, I only have one slide for this, but learning these tools is basically a huge step in itself. Then comes the interpret part. Interpretation is basically, I really like the first sentence. I read it somewhere that it's the implementation process through which data is reviewed for the purpose of arriving at an informed conclusion. By informed conclusion, it means that the hypothesis that you build at the frame part. So just to go back, we made a hypothesis that this program, we are going to make 15,000 people increase their monthly salary up to 50%. At this stage, we will build, at analyze stage, we will build enough charts so that we can see that information, that how many people are engaged and how many people have actually increased their monthly income up to 50%. So once we have once we have these things, we can actually find future trends for it. For example, a simplest example would be I was working on a sample chart just for fun to see how the future, how you can predict future from the data set that you have. So I used an avocado prices data set in for Chicago, and I was able to predict some of the prices that, hey, in future the prices are going to go up or down based on the previous data that I had. And it's not always 100% true, but it gives you a sense of whether you should do it or not. All right. So, oh yeah. So, and here's the thing, like, this is a stage where you can find out that, hey, is your hypothesis right or wrong? If it's wrong, you can then go back to analyze stage, and you can see that what's the problem there. If you cannot find it in the charts that you have built, you go back to preparing data, and you see if the data that you collected was right. There was a situation one time when I made a chart and it shows some really interesting insights. And when I shared it with the team, they were really surprised that this is not possible. So if we were actually at this stage at that time, they went back all the way to prepare data, and when they saw that the data is authentic, then they actually made that interpretation, finalized that, okay, this is the right one. Because sometimes data can surprise you with the results you were not expecting, and you can actually I mean, you just have to be sure before going forward with that. All right, so the next thing in this interpretation part is that you have to keep it simple. The best way to tell your findings is through storytelling. So uh, it basically means that you have, first of all, beautiful visuals. Thanks to Tableau and Power BI, you don't have to worry about that, but they actually do most of the work. But still, make them make them good, user friendly way, and share your journey. Like this, when I was at this state, I was starting with simple demographics, like this is how much people we have engaged, this is how our participants are flowing in these directions. And from, for example, if someone was dealing in with chickens before, they had a farm poultry farm, and later on after the program they started dealing with eggs too. So this is like how the traffic is flowing. This is what the data is telling us about. So if you tell it in a storytelling format, this is actually going to help them understand, by them I mean the higher management, easily understand and make decisions based on that. So at this stage, you don't take decisions, you just make decisions, like, okay, this is not what we were expecting, so we actually should change this part of the program and see what happens then. So it's a process which you go to and fro in order to get the right amount of results that you are hoping for. All right, so okay, so I've already discussed that you are basically you're going back, you're going forward in these three steps until you come to a solid conclusion. Um, the last thing here is that you need to know who your audience is. There is some data. Basically, the Stride program data is I mean, the reason why I am not able to share that data with you is because it's classified. It's not available for public. So the people I report to, only they are able to see it. So it depends on who your audience is. If they're general public, then you have to go super user friendly. But make sure when you're at this step of communicating with that data, you have 100% surety on your findings, because At this stage, if you have a wrong result, which happens, I mean, it's not a big deal, but this is the end product that you'll be presenting to your supervisors or to your managers. So this is basically the 5 steps that's kind of sum up a journey of a data science. It's not necessary that um, you'll be included in all the parts, but wherever you lie in, you should at least know how the data is coming and how you're going to view it. So that's it for these 5 steps. The next things that I'm going to share with you are some resources. So the thing is, if you are writing a proposal for a project to United Nations and or to any other organization, if you include data in it, they're actually going to that's going to add some plus ones into your proposals, um, because with data you cannot lie. When you have the data and you have the right sources for that, you can actually say with confidence, like, hey, this is the problem, we are fixing this thing with this. So I have shared some of the dataset resources here, so you can actually find huge data sets for your research purposes, for proposal writing, or for anything. I mean, this is for the first one is the UN data set. So you can see you they have made it so perfectly. Like, you can select it for a specific country. You can select for which thing do you want the data for, population, on education. I mean, this is the best source to find the data set on based on the UN findings from all around the world. World Bank also has their own data set, though it's not included here, but you can actually Google the data sets for World Bank, depending on what you want to find. This is another very cool link that I find. By the way, just to add here, like, you see this visualization here. This is a very nicely designed visualization. Usually this is called as infographics. So this is what I'm saying. Like, if you have the if you present it in the right way, it's easy to understand what's going on. So if you scroll down, you can actually these are the Sustainable Development Goals. You can find data on any of these. You can just select it. There are a bunch of data sets that you can go through from their indicators and stuff. I have used this data to design this really beautiful. Sorry, here we go. So I've used this data for the SGDs, and I've designed this thing here, which actually ranks countries based on their goals. So what happens is that you select a goal, for example, gender equality, and you can see which countries have worked more on gender equality. Like, United States is on rank 163. Oh, sorry. Out of 205 total ranked countries. Saying Pakistan is on 31, China is on number 1, which is very. I mean, I don't know. I actually don't know if it's true or not, but I actually used it as a practice data set for my project. You can search it with years, like who was ranked number 1 in 2003. China is still on number 1. We were ranked 20, but now we are 31. So just saying, like, these sort of this visualization right in front of you is generated by the data on this Sustainable Development Goals link. The next one, which I really like, is Kaggle. Kaggle is now bought by Google, and they have the data set on everything, almost everything. So, oh wait, there is one. So heart disease. So if you are working in the health sector, you want data on heart or disease, so you can see that they have age, they have their oh, I don't know much of these things like CP, chest pain, but just saying, like, because this is not my field, but you can see how they have all of this data set. You can actually download it by clicking on this button, or you can search for the data set. Let's say we're working on politics and we want US election data set. So these are 2016 US election. So as you can see, like, this is a data set. I can actually see a preview of it, and I can download it and perform basic visualization on it. It's 17 MB of data set, so it's going to be in Excel. But make sure, like, usually these data sets are already clean, but you need to work your way on them to actually see that if you have the right amount of data set or not. This is a free, I mean, if you go to Acumen Plus, they have these two really great courses, social impact analysis and learn data approaches to measure social impact. They're both free. Take them. They're actually going to help you learn those 5 steps in details. Last but not least, let's make something together. By that, I mean, the best way to learn something is to work using an example that you're already familiar with. So this example that I'm sharing with you is that let's all, whoever wants to learn more towards it, collect the data from the fellows, like which countries they're from, which state they're serving in, their demographics, where in which field they're working on. So what we're trying to achieve here is that we are actually going to make a dashboard which we can see, like, okay, more fellows from Pakistan have served in DC, and more fellows from, let's say Tunisia, they have worked in New York. So just it's going to be a fun visualization with the data set that you have actually that you're already familiar with. So what I want you to do is to actually make that Excel sheet yourself. If you give me a good Excel sheet, I can actually give you a one-on-one sessions on Tableau and Python or R, whichever tool you're interested in, and you can actually, I will help you learn based on the fellows data that you have collected. With that, I will get back to Ons because I think it's time. So, and I have nothing else. Yep, that was the last one.
Thank you so much, Talha, for this very, very interesting presentation and for sharing all these insights and resources. Really, really helpful for all of us. And dear fellows, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to write them down. Talha will be answering them. Thank you so much, Talha, and good luck in your future endeavors.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Ons.
Thank you.